Verse 1, for since the law has but a shadow of the good things to come instead of the true form of these realities, it can never by the same sacrifices that are continually offered every year make perfect those who draw near. I think he's referring to the law as a whole, but more specifically to the law governing atonement and the sacrificial system. We could insert those words if we wanted. For since the sacrificial system has but a shadow of the good things to come instead of the true form, it can never by those same sacrifices, right? We see the context by the word sacrifices there. The Greek word for sacrifices there being thusios, by the same sacrifices here, make perfect those who draw near. The word perfect there in the Greek is rooted in our familiar word that we hear in other verses, telos. The root word is telos. And this word speaks about a wholeness or a fullness or a bringing to the goal of an intended purpose of something, to reach out and attain to that particular goal, lacking nothing as you reach that particular end, to reach the end, to reach out to the end point, like we hear in the words telescope, telephone, telegraph. Telos is that root word. So the earthly sacrifices couldn't bring the worshiper to that perfect goal. In other words, they couldn't penetrate to the heart with their atonement. Verse 2, otherwise would they not have ceased to be offered, right? Since the worshippers, having once been cleansed, that's the perfection, would no longer have any consciousness of sins. So he's drawing a contrast between the atonement at the earthly level and the atonement at the heavenly level that was affected by Yeshua's blood. And the contrast is simply that the earthly was good because we did need ritual atonement, but the heavenly atonement is better because we cannot reach into the heavens. Only Messiah can go there because only he is equal to the Father and can have full and total access to the throne by offering his own blood. And so in his own sacrifice, verse 3, there's a reminder, in the sacrifice of the animals, verse 3, there's a reminder of sins every year. Notice he's going to begin to set up this contrast that he already kind of hinted at and talked about earlier on, way back in chapter 8, verses 8 through 12, where he quoted the Jeremiah 31 passage, which we know refers to or references the fact that one of the factors, elements of the new covenant that is spoken about in Jeremiah is not just that God would write the laws on our hearts, and that God would forgive us, but that he would remember our sins no more. Notice the reference to the frequency of God's memory in regards to our sin. When it comes to animal sacrifices, from God's perspective, there is a reminder of sins, and there's a reminder on our side as well, because we are the ones who are bringing them over and over again. So both parties are reminded of sin based on the fact that the sacrifices are repeated over and over again. And yet, when it comes to the new covenant sacrifice of Yeshua's blood that Jeremiah references, there is the fact stated that God will remember our sins no more. So take note of that. Remember their sins no more, because we're going to read about it. But for now, in these sacrifices, speaking of the earthly ones, there's a reminder of sins, in contrast to the new covenant, in which there is no reminder of sins because of what Yeshua has done, the efficacy of Yeshua's blood.